Hey folks, welcome back to the channel. Shorter video here, but an important one. Here in central Kentucky, getting our access polished, my access on the farm over the last couple of years has really came together. I had one little piece this year that I had to mulch on one of my fence rows, and that opened up what we are working on today. Just finishing access into a stand that we call the Hickory Flats. Anything of your mulching, your trail, you can get a clean, no grass, tall grass that's rubbing on your pant legs is the goal. So first and foremost, working down your fence row, let's say, hopefully if you're, got some exterior access, interior, hunting towards the interior, building that core, working down your fence rows, getting it to a point that you can mulch it, a mulcher head width wide, or maybe two, so you can get a mower down it. If you're going to plant ryegrass at all, that's where that ryegrass needs to be. So low grass, quiet approaches is the goal. Well, down that fence row, guys, when I put the debris, you can pile some of it parallel, but sometimes we're talking, quarter mile, half mile, a mile of border, let's say, right? So you don't want to go around your entire perimeter of your property and put the debris all parallel to that, because you're shutting off what we refer to as those bleeders to and from the property, and we don't want to shut all that stuff off. So some of it that you can get, I would, if you're going to do anything with the debris, put it parallel to your access. So one thing we can touch on real quick on that one is this. I see a lot of folks doing high hinge cutting, kind of a security edge feather combination with hinging to make that kind of a wall. That's a tough one. High hinge cutting is not something that I promote. I've done it. You can do it. You got to be real cautious. I don't like to do that on my fence lines, guys, or any access. And the reason for that is if you're not able to kill that, and that is viable, stays alive, hinging is meant to feed, right? It's meant to stay alive. So you can do that. You can make a barricade, but always remember, go back and spray that stump so that tree doesn't, keep producing green vegetation, because they will bed next to it. And then you're putting bedding right on the access trail. So always remember that, guys. Don't hinge on the fence lines or your access trails unless you have to. And if you have to try to create like a board fence or a wood fence, then I would recommend going back and spraying each and every one of those stumps so they're dead. It just becomes a blockade at that point and not bedding. So that gets us to what we have right here, guys. That fence row, which is my west fence row, goes down, and I've got it mulched all the way along the fence row, and it ends right here. My property line continues, obviously, but I've got it blocked with a bunch of trees from the logging, and I stop it right there. And so that's kind of a dead giveaway that you walk down through here. I try to access that with low or no flashlights, come all the way down. When I hit that spot, I know that all I have to do is turn left and come into the stand. So you can see right here, guys, what I've got. I'll take you along here with me. What I've got is I cleaned this out today, and I've got a low creek, or a cut ditch right here, creek ditch, if you will, and I've got to put like a 10-foot or 12-foot bridge across there that I'm going to make out of cedar and planks. Put that across, come in, and it's a straight shot right to the stand. So your access, whether it's on your fence lines or where you turn like this and you come drop into that final approach into a stand, straight lines, guys, is what you want. Straight lines cause stress. Deer don't like to be on them. If it's your access on your fence line, for example, when they go across it, their head is up and they get across it, it's kind of especially if you're in or from a high pressured state, they relate that to a shooting lane, right? So they get across it quick, their head's up, and you can usually beat their nose if it's kept mulched and low. And what I do is I go down through there, look at it every year. Do I have to remulch it? If I don't, then I just take this my steel trimmer, and with my brush blade on it, and I walk down through there and I trim it back out. about June, July, something like that, right? And I spray it. I spray it with the Ortho Ground Clear, a lot of times, that you can get from Lowe's, or I mix 2,4-D and glyphosate all in one, and I mix it hot, and I spray it, and then I kill all the vegetation on that. So when I start coming back into like this location, I don't come in here till late October usually, and that's, you know, kind of the trail is dead and nice and quiet. So that brush along that access trail on your perimeter, right? So like we talked, try to put some of it parallel. Just don't shut everything. Don't make it all a berm, because you're going to shut a bunch of bleeders coming on and off your property, which you want to invite deer on and off. When you come into your access point, your final approach, guys, into the stand location, right, into your stand, and then work your way up the tree here. Any of this brush, what I find a lot of folks doing is we're all guilty of it. You pick the brush up and you just throw the brush out to the side, right? Just throw it out in the woods, get it clean. What I highly recommend doing is what I've got right here, guys, is I cut these in any brush, even if I've got to go get brush and bring it over, any of this brush right here, what I'm doing is I'm putting it parallel both sides of the trail, and I'm cattle shooting that about 4 foot wide, something like that. You can pile one brush wall up here, guys, 6 feet tall, and if they have to, they'll go over it, right? They'll jump over it. 6-8 foot fence. I've seen them clear 10-foot fence. Commonly jump 8 foot. 10 foot is usually where the limit is, but I've seen them try it. But if you cattle shoot something like this, they do not like to be stuck in that cattle chute. Deer don't like that at all. So the more you can work on putting your brush parallel, 4 foot apart. Right now I've got a lot of green vegetation, but you know, in the fall, all this brush will be like this. Next year, add more to it, and all of a sudden this becomes just this brush wall on both sides. And they do not, if they're coming down through here or coming in from the fence line, let's say, and trying to, you know, sneak in behind me on the downwind side or whatever the case is, they get to that wall, they're going to read that brush wall 40-50 yards before they get to it, and it's going to push them out. And usually it helps keep them out of that scent cone, right? So that's what I recommend. It's shocking that if they come up to it and put their chest on it, they can jump over 6 or 8 feet. But if there's a gap, a 3 or 4 foot gap in the center of it like that, guys, they will not jump over it. They do not want to get stuck in the center of it. So you make it 6 or 8 feet wide, they'll probably jump once, get in the center of it, and jump out of it. But if it's that 3 to 4 foot, what I've found over the years is they don't want to be in interior, or inside of it, so it keeps them out of it. And a lot of times they won't walk down it either. So blow a hole through density. I just shut a old logging road off that I had to when I logged this a couple of years back. Made a little creek crossing where I didn't want it. I just fell some trees across it. So I've got a access over here that I want them coming across to the creek, not right here under the stand. So I shut that off. I have to put this bridge across here so they don't want to walk on it, right? And hopefully they don't use that hole. Another thing that I've done, guys, is if you can get it, or if you're in a state that, you know, it snows, the old wooden snow fence, I'm not a fan of putting like woven wire or high tensile or something like that, because they can see through it, and sooner or later you're going to get a deer hung up in it, and that's not what we want to do, right? But I've done before, and I've got some of it on the farm here that I'm probably going to do, because it's so dense at my approach that I poke a hole in it to the stand, which is 30-40 yards in, right? And it's hard to keep them off. So take that snow fence, the snow fence with the wooden vertical laths and the wire, and you can get it in 100-foot rolls. I've seen 300-foot rolls. You can find it. Marketplace is a good place to find it, but I run it from the access down into the stand, right around the tree, right, and right back out. And then you're making that cattle shooter, that walking path in. So you would come down here, loop all the way around the stand, around the tree, whether it's a ladder or a hang-on, right back out to your access, and you'll be shocked on how many deer don't like to get in that. What I do, guys, just to try to, you know, if something gets in, it's only 3 or 4 foot tall, so yeah, they can blow right over the end of it. but I always kind of try to build like a little, leave a piece of that, so you can open and shut it with a little rope on it, that it's not grinding or squeaking in the dirt or the limbs or anything like that. But I just kind of unlatch it, pull it apart, walk in it, shut it behind me. Sounds goofy. I'll be the first one to tell you it sounds goofy, but I've been working on that for years, right? And it works. So I've seen folks use board fences. I've seen guys, just like we talked, make it out of the, you know, hinge cut a trail on both sides. If you got enough debris, hinge cut a trail, two hinge cut walls, clean it out in the center, and then go back and cut or spray all those hinges, like we said, right? Makes a great wall, makes a good entrance, and the object is to keep that travel shut down on your downwind side when you're accessing in to and from those stands. So then, like I said, I've got the backpack blower. What I've got here, guys, I'll show you. I've got my, it's upside down here. Put my steel trimmer. That thing's got 1,000,000 miles on it, and steel trimmer with that blade on it. And then I've got my little steel 170 that I've got here, and or 180, I guess it is. I'm sorry, steel 180. They do my a lot of my tree work, my finesse work with accesses and hinge cutting and stuff like that. So then I take the backpack blower. I've got a BR 600 steel, and I go right down here and I clear this thing out, and then I come back in and I nuke it with that ground clear, and then it's just a maintenance over time, right? A lot to be said for the sweat equity this time of the year. This is where a stand location, guys, this is where a hunt is made or broke, right here. That for years, or for the last 2 or 3 years now, what I've been doing is I got to that point, I had to come across that old low creek crossing. I was up high. I was pretty much belly crawling it in, so I wasn't seen from a field that's 100 yards out here. Kind of sneaking in the back door, and I just mulched it right along my rock wall fence. Turned, and it's 20 yards right there, 20 yards probably. Add that little bridge in right straight to it. Yeah, as you can tell, she's hot, and we're in the going in the end of May here. It's hot, and I'm out here doing this now to make that stand better come fall. So some tips, always remember, guys, accesses, parallel the brush to your accesses. Do that down the whole fence row? No, but your stand, your final approach from your fence line into your stands, put that brush parallel, make 2 sides of it. You walk in the center. It really helps. I'll keep that deer traffic out of it. Now, if we're talking about transitions and corridors and stuff like that, guys, then yes, your deer trails, all of your debris and your tree work needs to be perpendicular, so away from the trail. Your accesses are parallel to the trail. So deer trails, you want it to be inviting. Access trails, you don't want it to be inviting, is the best way to say that, guys. So one of these videos I'll add a little clip to the bridge here when I get it placed. And sadly, my old maple trees here is leaving me. It's got kind of a hard spot in the bottom. That's going to be a hard tree to leave. That's one of my best stands on the whole farm, but they'll probably be one of those expensive old rednecks or something like that sitting here at one point. Old redneck for an old redneck, right? So that's what we've got, guys. Access, get out there, do it now. This is when seasons, you can make or break your season. 2024 started January. It doesn't start October 1st, September 7th this year here. So thanks, guys.